Prepping to host this episode on the power of storytelling, I found that facts inform and stories make people feel. Danielle Krischik, our interviewer today, often highlights that our brains respond more strongly to stories than data alone. When people feel something, they remember it, trust it, and act on it. You will hear the real reason Danielle wanted to interview JT is that storytelling shifts a brand from what we sell to why we exist. Strong stories allow customers to see the people, values, and beliefs behind a business, not just the product. And after a decade of podcasting, she thought you should know more about the driving force behind not just the podcast, but also why JT does what he does.
Welcome to the Fitness Business Podcast with your host, Justin Tamzett. With over 30 years in the fitness industry, JT is a globally recognised authority with a mission to lower healthcare costs worldwide by getting more people moving and moving more often in quality facilities with qualified professionals. Every episode, JT digs deep with our guests to bring you insights that will help you lead, innovate, and boost your bottom line. So let's dive in.
Hey FBP listeners, this is Zoe. If you love this podcast, you're going to love the FBP Insider. For less than $5 a month, you get episodes early, you skip ads, you snag awesome bonus tools from our guests, and you'll get access to our monthly workshops. Plus, you'll hang out with a bunch of legends in our community. Come and join us. Head to patreon.com/fitnessbusinesspodcast and jump in. Danielle is the author of The Story Effect and hosts the Story Effect podcast. She has a gift of being able to extract information from her clients and turn that information into a story that allows a person or the brand to connect. We'll put the links to her book and podcast in the show notes. I've got 2 copies of The Story Effect to give away. To go into the draw, I'm asking for one small favour. Leave us a short voice testimonial no matter where you are in the world and head to fitnessbusinesspodcast.com/leave us a voicemail and click start recording. It costs you nothing, takes less than a minute, and your voice may even be featured on the show. Just remember to leave your name and email along with your testimonial and you're in the draw. Let me hand the microphone over to Danielle and she'll explain why she wanted to take over the interview.
So I am taking over the Fitness Business Podcast, and I really have no business popping in here and just grabbing the mic, but I'm doing it anyways because I have gotten to know Justin JT over the past year, and I can tell you he has an incredible story to share. He is a really kind, authentic, vulnerable, wonderful human being, but you don't know that story because he's been busy interviewing so many incredible guests on his show. And I happen to be a master storyteller. I have a podcast of my own, so I kind of know how to do an interview. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to come in, take over, grab the mic away from you, and interview you because I think your audience would love to hear your story.
I am nervous as all hell, Danielle.
You should be. Be very afraid. So listen, this is going to be easy. Just speak from the heart. I'm going to ask you some questions. And yeah, we're just going to get to know you and a little bit of your life and your background. Let's start with a shocker because people love to get into a story with something, wow, or something they just wouldn't expect. Give the audience something that they would be shocked to learn about you that you've never revealed before on your show.
There's probably a couple there that I would share. And when I was thinking about this question, I think a lot of people suffer this at different stages, but certainly at different times in my life, I have suffered and still do suffer imposter syndrome. I can be filled with self-doubt that I can actually help people or that I give value to people or I build relationships with people. And I guess that's why I do 3 specific things. Number 1 is I always want to finish the podcast or a presentation or an email or a coaching call with actions that people should do so that I know that they've got value from what we've just talked about. It's kind of that reinforcement, I guess, that they got value out of our time together. I rarely say no to anything, and I feel really guilty if I do. So I generally say yes and then try to work out how I would do it later. So I guess that's probably me to a T. And then because of the way I feel like that, I really stick to my lane, which is the fitness industry. I'm pretty sure the knowledge that I've got and the IP and what I've been and done. I could probably help multiple industries. Yet I stick with fitness. I did try to leave the fitness industry at one stage and get on the speaking circuit and that sort of thing. I'm not sure why that failed. Maybe it was poor planning. Maybe it was poor capital behind me. I don't know, but I just stick with the fitness industry, and I'm obviously very passionate about what we do.
Thank you for being vulnerable right out of the gate. And I think people would be surprised to learn that about you because you're very funny. You have great charisma. You've been hosting a podcast for so many years and leading these roundtables. And it's incredible to hear like, oh, I also suffer from imposter syndrome. I will tell you, I've interviewed a lot of CEOs, heavy hitting business people. We all have something in common. We all do. And it's great to talk about because people that are up and coming feel that and feel ashamed that they feel that way. So I love that you talked about that because it's very common. And I think it's a common trait in people that are successful. And throughout your entire answer, you talked mostly about how you just want to go out and serve people. And that's one of the things I love about you most is you just have that in the fabric of your very being. You are setting out to make a difference and make an impact on people. And I think that's awesome.
Well, thank you. That's lovely. And that actually probably is the second thing that people might be shocked about is how hard I've had to work on because I struggle with compliments.
Yes, you do. Well, you know what? 2026, you're going to start taking the compliments.
I'm going to work on it. Yeah, no, thank you. And I do appreciate it. Yeah, it's nice. Thank you.
Okay, so that leads into, now I want to go back to the beginning. Where did you start? Where did your story begin? Where did you grow up? Talk to me about your early days.
My early days, wow. Well, I was born in 1969 in Sydney, Australia. Not surprising with this terrible accent that I have. But I'm a third generation entrepreneur with my mum and my dad was a school teacher. I think my mum took maximum 12 weeks off work when I was born and then she was straight back to work. My dad loved school teaching and taught at some of the worst schools back in the 70s in Sydney. And because my mum worked really long hours, my dad was really the household cook, the cleaner, the washer. So I certainly saw, I guess, a slightly different sort of family to what was going on in the 70s and the 80s. I am an only child, so I'm very used to my own company. My house used to back onto an oval or a field, and I would come home from school, just like Jerry Seinfeld, I'd have cereal for afternoon tea, and then I'd go out to the oval and I'd kick a football. In Australia, we would play cricket, or I'd predominantly be out there doing activity until the sun came down, and that's when Dad knew I would be home when the sun was down. From 4 or 5, I pretty much used to walk across the road and play sport with my neighbours, whatever sport that was. They were all about 5 or 6 years older than me, so in summer we would play cricket, in winter it was tackle rugby. Pretty brutal playing with guys 5 or 6 years older than me, but it toughened me up. But there was many a day I kind of skulked home crying, got no sympathy from my parents. They just told me to get back there and the next day, which I did. And I should say that my parents were not sporty at all, not in the slightest. I changed schools when I was 9 and sport was mandatory on Saturdays. My mum was in real estate, so she never ever made it to a game on a Saturday for about 6 years until sport then became after 1 o'clock for me. So I'm not sure whether my dad loved driving every week, but he did, and I'm grateful for that. And geez, when you start thinking about all those times, it gets a bit crazy as you reminisce, but they all sort of, I think, have had a influence on me, and you can certainly see that sport had a major influence in my life when I was growing up.
So when you were young and you were playing sports, at the time, did you like it and enjoy it, or was it really just, this is the way I'm going to make friends and this is the way I'm going to fit in? Like, where were you on that?
Yeah, that's a funny question. And I laugh because I remember having a conversation with my parents when I was about 14. I just finished my first year of high school, and unbeknownst to me that I was actually pretty smart, I came 4th in the year out of 160 kids. And the next year, my mum and dad sat down with me and they said, now look, you got 2 choices. You can have friends, you can play sport, or you can be smart. But I don't think you can do all 3. And I said, well, I'm going to take sport then. So yeah, sport was the option. And I plummeted from 4th in the year to probably 104th the next year. But yeah, sport was certainly the key thing. And Sport is just such a wonderful way to meet people. Doesn't matter where in the world you are. If you're involved with sport and sporting clubs, you just meet people in communities. So I didn't know that at that stage, but it certainly broke down the barriers for me, and I got to meet a whole bunch of kids at school that were older than me again that I probably wouldn't have met if I hadn't have done sport.
Yeah, and a lot of life lessons too, because you do learn resilience. And, I think I have to say bravo to your parents, because it's going to be controversial, but I'm seeing a lot of kids, they've kind of fall down and scuff their knee, and their parents are like, oh my gosh, come here. We're never going to, let you get out there again. And oh my gosh, what happened to you? But, you said, your parents were kind of like, oh, suck it up and get back out there. And that builds mental toughness. I think that's a good, obviously, it can be a little hard when you're a kid, but I think that really prepares you for the world, because the world's not going to be cushioned.
No, I agree with that 100%. And sometimes it's hard to put scenarios in place in your life that builds that resilience, but sport does that. If you're a batter in cricket or a batter in baseball and you strike out, well, you got to toughen the fuck up, because you got to go back out there the next innings. I'm really pleased that I guess I got my roots in sport to make me a bit more resilient.
Is there a moment in your life, maybe it was an event that happened, something that happened, or a person potentially, that really made an impact on you and shaped who you are today?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question, because I think with everybody there's a lot of moments and there's a lot of people that kind of shape who we are and what we do. I think for me, 18 years living with my parents 100% shaped me. As good or bad as my memory might be, I'm pretty sure my parents really never said they were proud of me or even said they loved me. They encouraged me to do stuff, but I think there was always that lack of public display of affection, if you will. The crazy thing is that when I went off and I finished school, I decided I'd be a high school teacher just like my dad. And my parents actually said to a teacher at school, can you convince him not to be a school teacher? I think it was my mum mainly. The teacher said, just let him go and be a teacher, and if he doesn't like it, he can leave. While I was at uni, I was fortunate enough to teach in 3 really rough schools. In fact, I had one lesson when I was doing practical teaching, learning to be a teacher, and I was actually in a school. I had a kid throw a chair at me, Danielle, and tell me to get fucked. And I'm like, he was like 14 years old. And I'm thinking, do I really want this for the rest of my life? While at the same time, I was working in a gym and really enjoying working in a gym. And so I'm comparing the feelings and emotions of working in a fitness facility with having a chair thrown at me. It just made me decide, and I tip my hat to every teacher in the world, but I just made me decide that that's not where I want to go. And I'm going to be the 4th generation entrepreneur in my family.
Wow. Listen, you have to be obsessed with being a teacher to be a teacher today. I'm sorry. I think it's just across the board. We don't pay teachers enough. We don't. And what they put up with in the classroom, and the kids are only getting worse. Now it's like you can't even get them off their phone to pay attention. So you got out at the right time. It's great that you tried and you wanted to do it, but I'm so glad you're not, and you are exceptional at what you do now. So it all worked out for the better. I have to go back though. So when people have tough parents that are generally hard at communicating their love, and that's how I'm categorizing yours. It was just hard for them to do that. Do you find yourself overdoing it with your daughter because you didn't have that?
Oh my God, so much. The pendulum swung to the opposite end, and it's now like every night you go to bed, oh, I love you, Zoe, I love you, I love you. And it's like, am I overdoing this?
She's like, get away from me, Dad. No, I'm sure she loves that, because you are all love. And I see the way that you interact with even your clients and, the team, the Rex team. So I figured you probably swung the total opposite way, and now you're sort of giving it so much. Makes all the sense in the world, and great to turn that kind of story around. I love that. So other jobs before the fitness industry. You talked about being a school teacher. What else went on before you really got into this?
Well, because I was playing sports so much, it was hard to get a job. When I was growing up at school, I used to put letterbox flyers or brochures for my mum. I did that pretty much from when I was 7 years old to when I was 18. She did catch me one day pushing them down the waste drain, and I nearly got fired for that. Yeah, that was pretty bad. when I went to uni to be a PE teacher, a phys ed teacher, I had to get a job because I'd moved out of home as well. I had two choices, get a job in a bar or get a job in somewhere else, and that somewhere else ideally where I would enjoy or be similar to the career that I might head. The bar was not really an option because I was probably an alcoholic at 18 years old, as most students are, drinking. And so I thought that's probably not the best place to work. So I actually got a job in a gym in 1988, and that's where I started in the fitness industry and never left.
That's amazing. Of course, I mean, so is the drinking age still 18 in Australia?
Yeah, we get 3 years head start on the Americans.
So that's crazy. I didn't touch a drink until I was 21. No, I was 16 years old, shotgunning beers. I was a maniac. But I can imagine, like, when you turn 18, it's on in Australia. You are in the pubs and you are having a good time. And you have to tell, so for the U.S. audience, when you say letterboxed flyers, what exactly is that?
Oh, direct mail, wandering around the streets, putting stuff in letterboxes, promoting mum's real estate business.
Got it. Okay. Mailboxes for us, mailboxes. Okay. It makes sense. Okay. So fitness, you liked sport. You felt good there. You felt like you could grow there. But the fitness industry in general, what really got you into it in a very serious way?
Again, I'm not really sure. I think there's two things. I think the positivity of working in a gym was really powerful. But I do remember a lady, I think it was probably in about my second or third month, but she was like one of the first 3 or 4 people that I ever did a fitness test on. So back in 1989, when somebody joined a gym, they got a full fitness assessment. And this lady came into the gym. Her name was Fiona. Gosh, she would have been 200, 220 pounds. Like, she was a big lady. And she joined the gym. And I had to do a fitness assessment on her. So in she came. And to be honest, Danielle, I was kind of amazed that someone this big would actually have the courage to come to the gym in the first place. So I sat down with her, and the first thing I had to do was do a blood pressure test, and the blood pressure cuff wouldn't go around her arm. And then I had to do a skin fold test. And in those days, we used skin calipers, which are like pliers, and they weren't wide enough. They literally were not wide enough to be able to measure her body fat. And I'll never forget it. I said this to her, and bear in mind I was 18 years old. I'd like to think I had zero emotional intelligence, but I was probably negative emotional intelligence. And we were quite robotic in those days, so we had to do everything as per the letter of the law, and I was scared shitless that if I didn't, I would lose my job. So I'm doing this body fat test, and I'm just fumbling like a kid on his first date with his girl. I'm like, this is just not working for me. What am I going to do? And she just said to me, it's okay, Justin. I know I'm overweight. And I said to her, staring at her straight in the eye with the utmost conviction, I said, I understand that, Fiona, but I have to write something in this box that says how many millimeters of body fat you have. And she said, it's okay. Just put down heaps. And I said, well, heaps is not a number. So how do I know if we improve or not? And she said, well, it's about me. It's not about you, Justin. So I want to go from heaps to lots to finally being able to measure it. They're the stages that I want to go through. I'm like, well, all right, I'll write that down, but do not tell my boss that that's what I put down on your sheet of paper. Like, seriously, I look back and then go, how stupid was I? Now, I do tell you a funny story, though. You get, again, 19 years of age, and Fiona said to me, I said, well, what are your goals? And she said, well, I want to lose weight, of course. And I said, oh, that's great. And then there was this pause, and I was ready to move on to the next question, because in those days, you never really got the emotional hot buttons or anything like that we would these days. And she goes, because my husband's just left me after 15 years of marriage. He's gone to a younger, sleeker model, and I want to get a revenge body. And I'm like, okay. Again, I was like dumb and had no idea what she meant or what she was saying. About 3 years later, Fiona looked smoking. She was great, and she was so motivated. She trained every day. And as I was watching that life change of Fiona in the gym, that's kind of where I went, this is actually a pretty good drug we've got, this fitness thing. More people need to do this. How do I get more people doing this? And then that was it. That was where where I went over my time at the gym.
Oh, thank you for sharing. That is such a good story. That is such a good story. Two things. Number one, I really want to know where she is today. I want to know that she is still smoking hot, that she is married to some, successful guy, and she has a great house and goes on trips. I'm dying to know where she is.
I reckon there are thousands and thousands and thousands of Fionas out there in this world, because one of the things she said to me was, I devoted my life to our 3 kids and I put myself last in the pecking order. And now I'm putting myself first. And I'll never forget her saying that. And that, to me, there probably are thousands of Fionas, and there's probably Davids or Peters as well, where we put ourselves last and we put our family first or our partner before us. And then all of a sudden something, we hit rock bottom or something goes pear-shaped and we then put ourselves first. Such
a good point. And I want to point something out about you. And you're going to practice right now for your audience taking a compliment, okay? I'm going to point something out. You say that in the moment you had negative emotional intelligence. You didn't know what to do with her. You didn't know what she was saying. But what you pointed out about her is you recognized in that moment that she was after something that was so much bigger and so much more than losing weight. She was trying to get her confidence back. She was trying to reinvent herself after she had lost her way, gotten overweight, lost her husband. She was trying to get back to good. The fact that you remember those things she said tells me that you had the emotional intelligence. You just didn't know how to execute. So you've had this superpower your whole life. You just didn't know. That's what I would say.
Well, thank you. I'll take that compliment and run with that.
Just take it.
I'm taking it. I'm taking it. I'm taking it.
So what about your journey with Rex has made you realize this is where you really meant to be? Because you could have done a lot of different things in the fitness industry.
I think it's like I get to combine what I love, which is teaching and changing lives, all in an industry that inspires me. So I reckon I actually got the best job on the planet. You think you've got a good job? I reckon my job's better because it combines what I love.
Yes, I catch that feeling just by being around you and your team. I think that everyone that's in your organization is just so passionate about it. And it's amazing to be surrounded by people that really love what they do and love what they're doing to make an impact together. And not a lot of people, and I mean, how many people in this world in corporate are just miserable going to their cube every day?
Well, it's funny you say that because, when I went to uni, I did my course. It was a 4-year degree. I did my 4-year degree, done. But a lot of my friends went off on different tangents to me and even looked down on me because I was learning to be a PE teacher of all jobs. And they went off into accounting and economics and blah, 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 blah. But their degrees were 3 years and they took 5 years to complete. So I think I'm lucky that I've always done things that I love. And I think Rex is just, that's just the next evolution for me. It's just what I love doing.
Yeah. I could see why. I'm curious, because you have a seat to some of the best minds in the business, and you've had this podcast for a long time, and so you've had all these conversations with experts. You've gotten it from kind of every angle. So you're the best person to ask, what does the fitness industry get wrong right now? Because I think there's so much information out there, 10,000 steps a day. You don't really need that. Cardio, don't lift heavy weights, lift heavy weights. Like just in general, what is the fitness industry getting wrong?
Well, I would actually say we actually get a lot of things right. So I think the glass for me is half full. We get a lot of things right because we have that impact on people's lives. And to me, it doesn't matter whether it is 5,000 steps a day or 25,000 steps a day. If you're moving, you're doing better than the person that's on the couch. But the reality is, as an industry, we just simply don't impact enough people. There's not enough people moving on the planet, and there are too many of us. Those people think that, you got to get fit before you actually join a gym. So that can't be right in the perception of what our product is and who we are and what we do. I actually once heard, I don't know whether this is still true, but I once heard someone say that there are now more obese people on the planet than starving people, which again is at either end of the spectrum. That's kind of scary. Many countries have less than 30% of the population who meet minimum movement standards. So the data, whether that be empirical or anecdotal, suggests the industry, we're helping the fit get fitter, but we are leaving the fat to get fatter. And so I really think the perception of our industry is what we get wrong, and the message is, this is why I love what you do, because it's the stories that we can then tell to encourage, inspire, motivate, change the perception of what we actually do in gyms. The media stereotypes us, and that propagates that stereotyping that we are a TNA type industry, and that's not all we are. We're the most natural, healthy way to reduce the healthcare costs in every country, and yet governments still don't want to talk to us. So if I was going to say one thing that we get wrong, it's still our image that we've got to work on.
I think that's so right. And, again, I'm going to say the controversial, but, that's me. I'm going to just say it. If people use fitness and movement to stay off of prescription medicine, somebody's not making as much money as they could have made with you getting a bunch of pills. So it's a bit, I'm sorry, it is a driver. In addition to that, our food system, we have one too many boxed, microwaved things in our pantries than we do real food. And so we have to combat that as well. But fitness, you're right about the changing lives part. And I think that is the part you get right. Whether you walk, 5,000 steps or 10, I think it does change lives. Do you have a story of the kind of the best of fitness in action?
Other than Fiona? Yeah, actually, I've got one. And look, to be honest, every gym has these stories, and I'm not convinced every owner or every manager of gyms proactively is out on the floor trying to find these stories, because these are the stories that are the glue to why people keep coming back, but also are going to be the magnet on what attracts people to their facility. But one story I've got for you is I had a Rex member who was running a charity day in their club. It was an open day, so anybody could come in, look through the club, they could work out. It was designed for the community to just basically come in and check out what a gym is. And for us, the peek behind the curtain is that's for us to get leads to be able to make sales. But for here, there was no real ulterior motive other than that. Anyway, he tells the story of a lady who came in and she just walked on the treadmill because the gym was open. So she came in and she walked on the treadmill, and she walked on the treadmill for a couple of hours. The staff all made her feel welcome. They were all chatting to her, but she just kept walking and walking and walking. And the staff then began to cheer her on as she clocked up 1 hour and 2 hours. True story. I think she got to about 2.5 hours before she finally stopped. Now, the staff didn't know her at all. She was just someone that just walked in off the street and started walking on the treadmill. Like I said, 2.5 hours later, she stopped her Forrest Gump moment and she high-fived all of the staff and the members that were around her. And it was like this community feel because she'd been there for so long, yet she was this new person. She had a beaming smile on her face and it was pretty much the opposite facial expression to when she walked in. Story goes, she actually joined the gym that day, which is pretty cool that she hadn't planned to, but she joined. That's cool, but here's where it gets really interesting. As she was leaving, she said to the owner, I was walking to the beachside cliffs to kill myself today. And the way his staff and the way the members supported her, she felt that exercise actually saved her life that day. And you ask, what are we getting right? That's changing someone's life.
Wow, that is such a profound story. I don't know if it would work the same. Maybe it would, but if she had stumbled into a coffee shop and the staff was nice to her while she was drinking a latte, I don't know. There's something about she conquered something in that 2 hours on the treadmill, and then she got the support of everybody. I can't help but think there was a formula to impact being so profound like that wouldn't have happened in another scenario. That is incredible. That's incredible.
And again, I would say there's stories like that all over the world that are happening inside our clubs that we are just completely unaware of how we change people's lives and the true benefit of endorphins and what endorphins do to us and how it makes us feel. It's the natural drug to make us feel better. Yeah, it's a great story. And again, for me, it just keeps reinforcing why I do what I do, because, if I can help save someone's life, if I can help save a marriage, if I can help someone get off medication because they're feeling better and more confident about themselves through movement, then then I'm happy.
That's amazing. I love that so much. So as you think about your life and, being a podcast host that you've been for years, a leader with your company, what has been the hardest season of all of it? And how did it change the way that you show up now?
I love the word season, because season for me, coming from a sporting background, there's a start and a finish. So I think that's a really interesting phrase to use for all of us in business, is that we do go through seasons. It's pretty rare that it just goes on and on and on. We all go through seasons, but we always forget that it will end. Whenever we got our back against the wall, it's going to end. It's okay. I love that word. I love it. Oh, look, for me, probably the hardest thing was my own health. I think about 20 years ago now, I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. I'm not going to gross everyone out to explain what it is. You guys Google it, and don't Google images, just Google what it is. And my specialist pretty much had tried every drug to get it under control, and we really didn't have a lot of luck with it. Anyway, he said, your last option is we're going to put you in hospital for a week. We're going to put steroids in you 24 hours a day. And if that doesn't work, well, I'm just going to have to remove your bowel and give you a colostomy bag. I was like 35. I was like, what the fuck? You're kidding me. I'm not having a bag at that age. Now, fortunately for me, and there's nothing wrong with bags, I just didn't really want one at 35, to be honest. And the steroid infusion worked. I still have my bowel fully intact now. And my specialist said to me this. He said, for some patients, the power of positive thinking can heal. And I think you might have been one of those patients. And I'm like, interesting. So I've always felt I was a positive person, but now I add optimistic to positivity. And I'm always looking forward. I very rarely look back. Do I have regrets? Yeah, I do have regrets, but I try not to dwell on those regrets. I'm excited about what life can throw at me, because for me, my glass is always half full. And that's just the way I see things. I feel blessed and lucky and fortunate for my life and what I do. But for me, that glass is always half full.
That's such a great, great indicator of your energy and your spirit. And I admire you for being so, because I know I have people in my life who have UC. That is a miserable thing to have. No matter what stage of it you're in, you have to be very careful with what you eat. It depends on which way the wind blows sometimes, how you feel. It's really rough. I'm wondering, although you're on a good side of it now, did it limit any of your fitness? Are there certain things that you can't do?
Now I'm all good, but when I was really, really sick, I would not get off the couch. I lived on red Gatorade for close to 3 months because I just couldn't stomach any food, didn't want to eat anything because it'd go through me so quickly.
So we've talked a lot about your background and your story and how you feel in general about the fitness industry, kind of what's going right, what's not going right. And some of the stories that really stick out to you as kind of reminders of why you do what you do. I'm curious, when you look back at your life, and now we're talking about you as a professional, as a leader, as a podcast host, but also you as a person, you as a dad, as a husband, as a best friend, and a son, all of those things. What are you most proud of that no one really knows about?
Do you ask all these hard questions when you're trying to build a story for people, by the way?
That's a good question on my question. I do, because otherwise the story stays at the surface level. Nobody feels anything. Nobody can connect to it from a human perspective, and nobody can relate. So you've got to go all the way down to the heart of it to get back up to the storyline. So yes, I do, JT.
And for those that are watching, this is the book you need to get, The Story Effect by Danielle Krischik. Okay, now that I've padded that, it's enabled me to think a little bit more about your question, because it is a great question and I just needed a little bit of time to ponder it. Look, I think I'm super proud that I'll always just get in and do something. There's not a lot of things that scare me, except spiders. Fuck spiders. Hate spiders. But seriously, when I was at uni, I was the president of the student body. I had no idea what I was doing, but I was young and I knew the challenge would make me a better human being. So I got in and did it. In the early 1990s, I was the president of our state fitness association and vice president of our national association. I had no idea what I was doing. I was young, but I knew the challenge would make me a better human. When I started this podcast in 2015, I had no idea what I was doing. I was young. but I knew the challenge would make me a better human. There's a common thread kind of here. Even when I started working with Rex, I like to think I was young. I probably wasn't. I was probably old, but I probably didn't really even know the challenge that I would be in for, but I knew it would make me a better human. I've coached rugby. I've coached my daughter's netball team. I'm coaching a new netball team this year, and all of them are challenges, but I just know that if I take them head on, they'll just make me a better human, whether that's more resilient or whether that's more empathetic. It just makes me a better person. And I guess what I'm most proud is being the best dad I can be to Zoe. Again, no idea really what I'm doing as a parent, but I know the challenge just makes me a greater human.
I think that is such a good takeaway. And I know that you are big on ending your podcast with a takeaway for the audience because you're always thinking about how to serve and how to make an impact. So I'm going to throw this one on you, okay? You have to be reflective in the moment. All right. And I know you're up for the challenge. So I proposed that I would come on, take over your podcast. I would ask you deep questions about your life, vulnerable questions, and have you sort of give a little light as to who you are as a human outside of the host and the leader and all these things. And you took on the challenge, which I think made you a better human. Going through this conversation, you had to be very introspective. You really had to kind of dig deep, think about what you value, what you care about, your history, you know, what made you who you are. But I think that's good for us. So what would you tell the audience? And this is outside of what you typically talk about, but what is the value of taking a moment to really be introspective? Think about your story and think about what you value, what you care about. What is good about that? What have you gotten out of it?
I think in the world that we live in now, and some people would say it's narcissistic to think about yourself and to talk about yourself, and it's not the case at all. I think one of the really important aspects of doing this exercise allowed me to not look at my life in still shots like you would see on social media. All you see is a still shot. It allowed me to look at my life as an entire feature movie from go to woe. And it actually enabled me to perhaps even link some things and what I did when I was younger to the behaviors that I have now at my age. So it was a fascinating exercise to dive deep into that. I think at a shallow level, I kind of knew, but I didn't understand why. Going through the story helped me ascertain why I am like I am. It was confronting at different stages with those questions that you gave me, and I hope I haven't bored everybody with the answers, and I would encourage anyone to kind of go through that similar sort of exercise.
I love that. What a great takeaway. And I've never heard anybody kind of put it like that. You're right. A lot of our life is seen in still frames. It's nice to kind of see the whole movie and think about the whole movie because you will find connection points, which reinforces who you are, why you make the decisions you make. And honestly, it can sometimes help you make decisions for the future because you reflect back and you think, no, I always valued that. That's important to me. I want to make an impact on people through fitness. So no matter what I do in the future, I'm going to make sure that I'm doing that because that's important to me. So I think that is so valuable. And then on the other side of it, you brought up a great point. People often say to me, I don't want to share my story. Nobody wants to hear that. Like nobody wants to hear me talk about myself. You know, I don't like talking about myself. It's not for you. It's in service to the people that are listening because people that are listening have also had, you know, relationships with their parents where they weren't forthcoming with their I love yous. People have had imposter syndrome, have had great success, but still feel that imposter syndrome. All the things that you sort of talked about, health challenges and how positive thinking helped you overcome, what it's like to be a dad, what it's like to navigate a very changing and volatile industry, which you have. So people listening have heard that and have found hope and have found encouragement because they've related to you on a very human level. So I want to just thank you for being up for the challenge and doing this with me. I think everyone's going to love you even that much more. You already have so many fans. I see it on social media, but hopefully they got a little bit more of your heart today. So I appreciate you very much.
All right. Look, I'm very grateful for the opportunity. Thank you, Danielle. Just send me the invoice for your time today because you guys listening, you've just experienced what Danielle talks about in her book, The Story Effect. And when we were talking about this, she said, it's not about me, it's about you and getting the listeners and the podcast family to know a little bit more about you. But I think you guys have actually sat and had ringside seats at a case study, and it gives you insights on what you need to be doing to build your story in your own businesses. Would that be right, Danielle?
That's very, very kind. I appreciate it. That's a great glowing review, but it truly was to get your story out there. So I appreciate the credit, but I really enjoyed getting to know you. I learned things about you that I didn't know, and I loved it. So thank you.
No, thank you.
I bet you weren't expecting that vulnerability and you learnt something about JT. I know I did. I'm giving away 2 copies of The Story Effect, and entering is simple. Go to fitnessbusinesspodcast.com/leave us a voicemail and hit start recording and give us a short voice testimonial. It doesn't matter where you are in the world, it's completely free and takes under 60 seconds. Leave your name, email and your testimonial and you'll be in the draw. Plus you just might hear your voice on a future episode. Thanks to Rex Roundtables trusted suppliers for standing with us and supporting the Fitness Business Podcast. We encourage you to check them out on today's show notes and see the great work they're doing in the industry. Support them as they support us. Solution One Partners. They provide marketing, loyalty, and CRM solutions for the fitness industry. Arsenal Strength. They manufacture professional strength gym equipment and offers custom gym design. Power Systems sells a wide range of fitness strength and conditioning equipment. And finally, Black Box Fitness designs and manufactures gym equipment and creates bespoke training facilities. And that ends episode 557 and also season 5. Thanks for listening and being part of the Fitness Business Podcast community. I'm not sure when I'll be back, but JT returns in a month. And with over 550 episodes in the library, you're never short of learning. So check out all the episodes at patreon.com/fitnessbusinesspodcast. And as we say here, what we leave behind is not set in stone monuments, but what is woven into the lives of others.
Oh, that's good. We hit stop.